Hiya, welcome to Gender Nebulous number 46. And hello, Victoria.
Well, hello. How are you?
You might want to turn your microphone up a bit.
I want me to turn my microphone up. Why?
Oh, I don't, it sounds a bit, oh, it must be me. Hang on. No, it's usually my fault. What have you been up
My
to?
microphone is perfect, darling. What have I been up to? Since when? Since Thursday.
Yeah.
Um, working on Friday. Went up to see my mum yesterday. Had a discussion around why she shouldn't read the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
God. Well,
I
my
know
mum
you're
reads
that
the
same
Daily
problem.
Mail.
Yeah.
I have this discussion. What I do with my mum likes Daily Mail on a Saturday because it has the best TV guide. That's her argument.
That's
I say, I,
exactly the argument I got from them as well. Yes.
the thing is, I say, I'll pinch the TV guide for you, mum, just so you don't have to have that. And
Is it,
my
can't,
mum
can't
does
you
it.
download something on your phone? It's like an
Yeah,
app, a
but you
TV
see,
app.
my mum's old school. She likes sitting in front of the fire reading the paper, and I've learned that she doesn't take it seriously. Like I did this thing one day when I was really annoyed with her because well, I think there was a story by Maya Forstater, and I said, Mum, when you read that, what do you think about it? Where does it make you feel? And she goes, oh, she sounds a bit pinched. And I said, what do you mean? She sounds like, oh, it's like a, it's like I'm traditional, but bloody hell. And I get it. My mum reads those stories. It's entertainment. It's not news for my mum. It's just something that, you know, because it is. I think people buy the papers that are popular because they're just available, aren't they? Like byline news is more informative. It's full of correct, facts but it's not on the newsstand because facts don't sell papers. I
I mean,
remember
I don't
sitting
mind
down with my
buying
mum.
her independent, but I refuse to buy the Daily Mail.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a happy medium between the deep dives of the byline times to the crap that you get in the Sun. But what I said, I sat down with my mum once and I said, "Look, can I just do an experiment with you?" And I got a red pen out and I said, I'm going to go through every story in this paper and I'm going to underline a lie and I'm going to prove that it's a lie. And I did this experiment with her and it took me about 2 hours. And then at the end, she says, well, I don't really matter. It doesn't matter, does it? I was like, it does matter. Truth matters.
So, does she
But
have it delivered, or do you go get it for her?
Well, we usually go shopping on a Saturday
And
and
she just buys
in,
it.
in to Asda and it's always on the newsstand there and she gets it
Mm.
because on the Saturday you get the TV guide and it's in its own magazine and it's really big letters and they know their audience, the Daily Mail. They know they're older people. They know that, you know, I think they just play to what they think their audience are, rather than thinking, how can we elevate our audience into being more worldly wise and understanding the complexities of the world? They don't now just bash out another story that hates trans people.
So yeah, it was the Daily Mail discussion, and then several problems with technology I needed to fix. Because
Yeah.
they don't know how to do that.
Well, yesterday I went bra shopping and I
Oh,
discovered that Tesco, I've been to Asda, I've been to TK Maxx, I've been to Primark, and I don't know, I like a good solid harness. Do you know what I mean?
harness.
So I went to
What have you been
Tesco.
up to?
No, because no, do you know what I mean? I think about like there are fancy bras if you want to look pretty and all that, but I need them for work. I
So you
need
want something practical and supportive?
yeah, I need it to flat. I need it to just hold me in and feel comfortable. And a lot of bras they don't have much at the side. And if you're quite, I mean, I'm not fat, but I'm not slight, am I? Do you know what I mean? So I need something that covers all of that
Yeah.
because if you don't, you end up with fat there and fat there. And then it's too loose, and then you're not getting the support. So I'm not going to take my top off,
No,
am
probably
I?
not live.
Right, but it comes all the way up to here, the cup, and right under there, and the band is like from there. So that's what I wanted.
So it's like an industrial sized bra, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's industrial strength boob fastener. Because when I'm running away from turfs, I need something that's going to give me
Does
aerodynamics.
this happen a lot? Do you run away from turfs a lot?
Yeah, when I sling muck at them, they tend to come running after me. So I need to be faster. That's why I don't wear heels and I wear full practical bras. That's top tip. That's why you tune into this podcast, is to find out
Top
these
tips.
very practical
Top
tips
tips.
about being a trans woman in 2023.
And I'm going to a 4-year-old birthday party later today.
Wow.
I'd just like to show the gift. 1 second.
Right. All right, well, I'm waiting for the big reveal. It better be amazing after you're going off the screen to show me. Oh, Vicky's away there.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, she's back. Have you lost it?
Sorry for that brief interlude.
I can't see it, Vicky. You're in the green screen. That's it. Oh, no, it's disappeared. It's a Spider-Man plushie, isn't it? Oh, there, I can see it now. Yeah. All I can see is your hands and something in
the green screen doesn't work with that, does it? No. Put it back.
No, but you did see it momentarily. I get the idea. I'm sure the person that is for is going to love it.
Yes.
I want one.
You want one? Oh, well. It's your birthday soon, so I'll get you one too. Okay, how's that?
Well, maybe not Spider. I mean, I like daft things. You know what I mean?
It's definitely daft. Yeah.
Anything with rainbows on, I'm there for it.
I'm not sure you can get a rainbow Spider-Man, but I'll try and find one for you.
So yeah.
Anyway.
And last night I went out.
Did you?
And I regret it now. No, I don't regret it. What I regret was being a bit plastered and coming in. I think I'm going to put some pictures on Instagram. And then I thought, oh God, what have I put on Instagram? What have I put on Twitter?
So you were drunk. You were drunk posting, were you?
I know, but I thought I'm not ashamed of like any picture of me, even if I'm wearing less clothes, because I'm all into body positivity, and I find that fetish scene I'm in to be celebratory of, you know, any alternative genders, and we're not sex objects. We like celebrating the fact that we are different, and that I like anything like that. But the problem is for me and you, I think, because we do this podcast together and I've been on news, somebody could take those pictures and take them out of context. So when I'm trying to make a salient point about culture wars and lobby groups and getting something like, well, this was you last week rolling around on the floor in your knickers in a fetish club.
Yes.
It doesn't sit well, does it? And that's what now I shouldn't have to feel like that. I shouldn't have to be like this one-dimensional kind of perfect person or whatever people think I should be behaving like. But when you do put yourself out there, you have got to tone police yourself a little bit, because there are pictures of me last night that are on my phone that I definitely wouldn't even show you, Vicky. And when I came in, I was so tired. I made myself a cup of tea and I got in bed and I didn't even take my clothes and makeup off.
So you woke up.
And I woke up at 8. I woke up about 10:30.
From last night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And my makeup smudged all over my pillow and all sorts.
But you had a good night, no doubt.
Yeah. There was a really interesting thing. There's a guy.
I mean, I would leave your pictures up, the clean ones. I mean, you know, it's your way of expressing yourself, so why not?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a time and a place, though, isn't there? I think, and because Twitter is such an open forum, and it's like pretty
maybe
much...
not on Twitter. Maybe leave them on Instagram, but not Twitter.
But you know, these people, if they want to harm you, that's what they'll go for. They'll go for something.
They'll go after much kind of. It
does show them up though.
They'll go after pictures of you and your family, with you in it, with your friends, you with anybody. They'll go after any pictures you put up. I mean, they probably keep a little file of you somewhere with all your pictures in it.
But the thing is, I'm ultra aware of that. I might not have been last night when I was a bit away with the fairies, but when I think, like say I was invited to go on the Piers Morgan show last week. So if I'd have done that. And then, because people do come for you, and then they scroll back through my posts and found a picture of me, like doing my dominatrix look. They'd be like, "Look at the state of this one." That's the.
Well, as long as Piers Morgan doesn't show up at the club, I mean, I guess you're okay.
I mean, probably, but he's the kind of guy. To be honest, those are the kind of guys that sneak around behind the wives' backs wearing their underwear. I'm not joking. Last night in the club. We have to be careful who we let in, especially single men. Because we don't want to prejudice. We want to say because you're a single man, you're a threat or anything. But if you're not used to that scene, if you just come in as a tourist, you don't understand that just because people are walking around nearly naked, that's not an invitation. That's their personal space. And if you want to talk to them, if you want to engage in it, that's fine. But you don't gawp at people and you don't, do you know what I mean? I mean, if you're uncomfortable, sometimes guys are nervous because they've never been before. That's nothing wrong with that. It's just when sometimes you get these arrogant guys that think they've paid the money to get in, they want something for that money, and it doesn't work like that. And I got approached by a guy and he was just sitting a little bit too close to me, and he's like, see, the way I deal with that is I was like, what do you want, mate? But it does happen. I think that this happens in other spaces as well. But like I made this point before about single sex spaces, about clubs, and when people say, "Oh, men are a threat in those spaces," they're not really a threat in those spaces. Men are more of a threat in places like clubs, in places like pubs, even supermarket car parks. You're more likely to encounter someone who is a threat, not in a toilet. That's not
Yeah.
to say it can't happen. It's just to say do the risk assessment, do the maths, or do the math, as they say in America.
Do the math.
Why do they say that, Americans?
I don't know. I still wondered that. When I lived there, I thought, why is the S missing? Why are you not using the S? So, have we done the math?
It's a bit like they put an S on things you're not supposed to and take the S off things
Yeah.
you are supposed to.
Yeah,
So
it's
they'll
very
say math and then Legos. What are Legos? Can I play with the Legos?
Legos.
Because technically
Plural
there is
of
more
Lego,
than one.
right? Legos.
If Lego is one piece of a thing, then yeah, that makes sense. Anyway,
Anyway,
we're
going very, very, very far off topic here.
Yeah, sorry. I do like Lego. That's something I wanted. That rainbow Lego set.
Yeah, it's still available. I've got that.
Have you got it there? I love that. But Lego have got this range of like gender inclusive figures, and what else did they do? They did a series of female scientists, and I thought that was amazing. Like the thought that
It's all available. If you go on the website, it's all there.
I will forgive Lego for working with the Harry Potter franchise just because of that.
Go on the website. Go on the Lego website. Everything's there.
I love to go into the Lego shop in Manchester.
Oh, the Trafford Centre.
Because you can build your own figure. So they have all the little pieces.
It's always, when you try to buy figures in there, you got that thing where they've got all the bits to make a figure.
Yeah.
But it's always impossible to find what you want. And there's always millions of people all diving in trying to find stuff. What they need to do, Lego, if you're watching, you need to sell a little kit of like 20 people, 30 people, and you can just mix it all up. Just do that for me, please. Thank you.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
But some people on Etsy and eBay, that's what they do. They'll get all the bits and they'll make like custom figures and sell them as a set.
All right, that's what I need.
There's like a set,
That's what I need.
There's a set of spacemen, and like there's a set of doctors and nurses.
So where's
there's a
this?
set of five-
It's the thing on Twitter.
Etsy.
What's it called?
Etsy. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's like a craft.
Oh yeah.
Etsy.
I know Etsy. Yeah.
This is like an arts and crafts
I know what you
seller's
mean.
site. I'm going to start using Etsy because
I'll have
I've
a look
got
at
some
that.
bits
Right.
to sell. But what was I saying?
How did we get
Yes,
into Lego? I don't know. Anyway.
well, we're talking about maths, because I was saying about statistics. How do the maths, do the risk assessment.
Do
and
the
then we
Legos.
said Americans say math.
Do the Legos. Should we look at the news?
Yeah, might as well. Well, we
Okay.
can talk about Lego if you want. I'd actually prefer that. It's all bad
Well, based on
news.
some of the stories we've got coming up now, you're probably right.
Right, come on, let's go.
Let's go. Okay, so here we go. First one is our oh no, press the wrong button. There we go. It's Dylan Mulvaney once again
Yay.
back in the news, and again, still the Bud Light and Nike issues are kind of rolling on, and we've got another company involved, another two companies involved now. Actually, these are kind of old things that Dylan did, but they're being dragged up now by the
Yeah,
by
because
the
they
bigoted
want more
ones.
stories, don't they?
Because
They
they've
want
run out
more-
of real stories, so they're now trolling through the history of what she's done, and now they're calling for boycotts against Maybelline and MAC makeup. Would you believe?
Right, I saw the video of Dylan, post surgery. She's had some facial feminization, and I think she's, changed her look a little bit. I think to my mind, she seems more mature. Like,
Well, she
I
did a
mean,
video this week, didn't she?
it's
Just
yeah, it's just one
explaining the
video.
impact of all this
Yeah,
negativity
because
that's been going on.
she'd been away from TikTok and Instagram for a bit. So this was like her return video. And it was quite interesting because it had a completely different tone to a lot of her other videos. And this was like, I need to address this. And she's very measured. And I think Dylan is really intelligent. Because at first, when I first started seeing Dylan Mulvaney popping up on things, I'm thinking, who's this idiot? But the idiot thing is the act. The idiot thing is the way that you can clown around and get, popular because people like watching fun things and bright and having a laugh because generally young people like joy. And
Strange that.
now it's like she's got this different attitude because she's realized how dangerous some of the narrative has become. And I think she might feel some responsibility for it. She shouldn't really, but she might feel like, oh God, what machine am I a cog in here?
Yeah.
And that's what came across to me. And Owen Jones reviewed this video, and Owen was saying the only reason Dylan Mulvaney is criticised, it's got nothing to do with beer, it's got nothing to do with Nike, it's got nothing to do with Maybelline or anyone like that. It's to do with the fact that she's trans. If this was another
Yeah, if it was anybody else,
person,
nobody would care.
even if it was a male person selling makeup
This is true. Yeah, that would be better
tampons,
than this, wouldn't it, for them?
because they would say that as, oh, that's a nice, but it's the trans bit they don't like.
So it's
weird,
the
isn't it?
article. The article says the backlash is believed to have started by former transracial internet personality Ollie London, who posted a
Ollie
tweet
London.
misgendering
Right,
Mulvaney and making fun of an old Maybelline partnership she'd posted.
Right, well, let me tell you about Ollie London because I did a little bit of research on Ollie London.
I've not heard
And
that term before, transracial. What?
Well, he was in the news a while ago because he said he wanted to be Korean and he had his features changed
Okay.
cosmetically.
I know what you mean.
That's who he was. But he put himself out there as a detransitioner. And people got behind that who were working for people like the Policy Exchange. Now, this is what I'm thinking about writing this as one of my Turf Reich series, and it's about media influencers. They're not politicians. They're not just benign players and have their own opinions. They're working for lobby groups, and there's two of these that I've seen on telly quite a lot recently. Zuby was the guy that was on the Piers Morgan show I would have been on. And he puts himself as a rapper, a hip-hop artist. It's just interesting that he's Michael Gove's favourite hip-hop artist. Do you know what I mean? So, because this is same with Lawrence Fox, same with there's a few of them. I could probably list them, but Zuby, Ollie London's one of them, and who did I just mention? Forgot now. But anyway, these are people. They're there to be media influencers because they know they'll get the Twitter post boosted by these bigger accounts, and then it becomes a snowball. So then they have media influence, and then there are certain people who are paid to do analytics who work in the government and say, well, these young people can reach an audience that we can't. So can we use their narrative? So there'll be certain people like, I think they've done it with Kirsty Allsop in the past and Carol Vorderman, but interestingly, they've gone the other way now. So it was like a sort of overnight shift.
Basically using popular people to push your message.
Yeah, because they've always done it. They've always consulted with, like, if you become a popular person in the media and you're someone like Carol Vorderman, the government, or like not what they call statisticians and what do you call it? Like, they plan a campaign for somebody and say, like, I know Maureen Lipman has done it, and they'll plan a little campaign for them to lobby on something because they know that person. Because if, like, say somebody like,
it's just like using a celeb as an influencer.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
there are some politicians that span that, because somebody like Rees-Mogg can be a personality in the media and also a politician. But most of the time, the politicians, nobody fucking listens to them anyway because they're so boring and can't even string a sentence together on Laura Kuenssberg, never mind on a Instagram post.
So, I mean, this backlash was, I guess it was started by Ollie London, and then it's been, we've had Jordan Peterson urging followers to boycott Maybelline. Twitter users pointed out the obvious that Maybelline and MAC are different brands and not owned by the same parent company. So, it's just the same as what was going on with the boycott for Bud Light and...
But you see, all of Ollie London's posts are ridiculous. If you look at, there was one today I saw which said that trans women are pretending to be disabled.
What?
Right? Pretending to be in wheelchairs to get access to. And I don't honestly, that was the story. And you can't take it seriously. You couldn't take it seriously before, but if you read that and take it seriously, then the only reason you're following Ollie London is because you just hate trans people. That's it.
It's just mad, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an interesting phenomenon. If you look at like Graham Linehan, he's about to get hit by a really serious. But he's about to get hit by a very, very serious court case, and it's a defamation case. It's a harassment and bullying case. I know, and I can't say too much about it because I actually in communication with some of the people, but I've been collecting tweets and his kind of when he's at his worst, because that what he does, he actually tries to shame trans women by sharing pictures of them pre-transition or when, like I said before about, like there's pictures of me on the internet now. Now, if he wanted to, what he'll do is find a picture where I look
he'll make
ugly,
fun of it.
He thinks I look ugly or whatever, and he put that with me, and I saw this and this monster is doing this now, and that's what he's doing, and it's really cruel. And it's just sadistic, and his little attack dog followers are just as bad, But he's the ringleader and all that kind of stuff.
Right, let's move on.
Yeah, sorry about having to think about Graham Linehan.
Yeah, who wants to think about Graham Linehan? It's like it's Sunday, come on. So your favourite Tory, Caroline Nokes?
Yeah, she's the only blue I love.
Says her party won't win next election by focusing on culture war issues. Conservative MP Caroline Nokes has hit out at the toxicity of debates on the trans community, claiming that focusing on narrow issues does nothing but cause division. In an interview with the news agents, Nokes claimed her party will not win the next election if they focus on stoking division through culture wars. Debates with the economy and public services are far more important in her eyes. I mean, that's true. There's a lot of shit going on in this country, which is pretty important. Why this government is focusing on culture wars, God knows.
You see, what's interesting to me is, like most of the stories we cover mention the word trans are negative, and when somebody just so much as says, maybe we shouldn't be focusing on this, the story is about trans again, because it's like saying Caroline Nokes is. People that comment on this will say Caroline Nokes doesn't know what she's talking about. But all she's saying, really, is, can we just simmer down a bit, please, at the back of the class?
Yeah, I mean, let me just read this bit out. When asked if the Tories had stoked division and hatred, Nokes, who's also chair of the Women and Equalities Committee, said, I think that it would be fair to say that by continuously focusing on a few narrow issues where there is real division and toxicity in the debate, that it does stoke people up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's wrong in a way, because it does get, because people tend to, unfortunately, vote emotionally rather than pragmatically. And if somebody's going to say, look, if you vote for this party, look at what they want to do. They want trans women all over the show. You won't be able to go driving down the street without a trans woman popping up out the drain pipe. I wouldn't mind that. No. I think that should be reality. But the way people vote in a last minute maybe decision, they go, well, on balance, everything's a little bit shit. None of them are doing anything I want, but I hate trans people.
So
Oh,
you
go with that one.
remember Lee Anderson and his
Oh yeah, yes, he's just a dick. He was in
saying
the.
they're gonna fight on a mixture of culture wars and trans debates to win the election. I mean, in an interview in February, Anderson claimed that the three things that won the 2019 election for the Tories was Brexit, Boris, and Corbyn, adding that the Tories will rely on the trans debate to stir up voters for the anticipated 2024 general election. So they've already stated it themselves. They know themselves what they're going to do, and they're using the trans debate as
well, we have become
the weapon against us.
It's kind of abstract though, because they're never talking about us personally. Because if somebody was to talk to a trans woman or non-binary person or trans man in a studio or in a select committee and say, can you tell us about your experience, what your life is like? It would shatter every single one of the arguments, because they can only think of us as a conglomerate mass of, we're not human. We're just an idea that has infiltrated the culture. We're a threat. We're all delusional, so then after thinking all those things, people don't have any worry about slagging us off, because they've already dehumanized us so much and don't think of us as real. So it doesn't matter. And the difference with this argument, and like sometimes people compare racism to transphobia. Now I know in a lot of ways it is the same because it's discrimination, but see, one of the nuances of trans arguments is there's a transitional period. You don't transition to being black. You don't transition to being anything else you can't help being. But there is a choice element to it. There is a kind of grey area where it is psychological and mixed with philosophical, and then there's changing physically. So there's so many layers to the argument that it has to be summed up in the most ridiculous ways. So when you try and argue with people about being trans, what you're actually doing is you feel like you're defending your own existence, but you're not really, because we all have these arguments with ourselves in our own minds. We've already thought about this stuff more than they ever will. We've already had doubts. We've already been through that trauma of not being brave enough. So when somebody comes at you and says, well, that's not real. I said, you know what? I didn't think it was real, but I worked out that it was.
Yeah, this is very true. Very true indeed. Yeah.
So the London Marathon.
London Marathon. Yeah, this
is another
one
daft
really
story.
This one really annoyed me. It's a really kind of stupid thing to have happened.
Do you think we should do better segues? Because I was just thinking, is there any way I could make this story go into the London Marathon?
I wasn't sure how you're going to do that one.
No, but we've just been...
So
it's
trans
been a long
woman...
slog, Vicky. It's been a long slog. I've been run a long way and we need to reach the finish line. So.
Yeah. Trans woman Glenique Frank ran the London Marathon in the female category, finishing in 4 hours, 11 minutes and 28 seconds. And apparently that position they came in at was 6,000...160th in the female category.
Yeah.
So,
it's not a story really, is it? It's like the story is just there because of the trans element.
Yeah, so Bigots are raging because of a trans woman ran in the London Marathon and came 6,160th. They've been accused of cheating real women out of a place.
Yeah.
The defence that she's used is that she's running in the category that aligns with the gender. But what really annoys me about this is if you go and look at the official results page for the marathon, when you go in there, it's divided within the marathon itself. There's different categories of race. You've got the elite race, which is for I guess people who are registered or run under the British Athletic and other worldwide athletics associations, and they I think to get in that elite race you have to be invited. There's no way to apply for it.
Oh no, you can't.
It's
just
part
turn
of the
up for
associations that you run with.
I think you've got to have certain criteria.
Yeah, you've got to have history as being a runner or maybe an Olympic runner. Or
it's
something.
Probably really complicated.
Yeah. So when you just go in and try to apply to be in the marathon, there's none of that information on how to join the elite thing is there, because it's probably not how you get in. You don't apply for it.
Well, the thing about this story is it's the one that I was wrong to go on Piers Morgan about, and
Yeah.
obviously
Well,
I
let
couldn't
me
do
just
it
finish
because
what I was saying about the categories. So then
go on
you've
then.
got the
Sorry.
mass, you've got like the mass participation race, and then you've also got Paralympic categories for
Hmm.
people who are competing in wheelchairs, or people who are blind or being and have someone who leads them around the course. So there's
Yeah,
different categories, and those categories have kind of coded categories that match with what you see in the Paralympics.
yeah.
But I'm sure for the elite races and those races within the marathon itself that there's rules that you have to kind of apply against. But in
Yeah.
the mass participation race, there's pretty much no rules. I mean,
No, you can dress as a fridge,
people
can't you?
join these people. Yeah, people run around carrying fridges and washing
And
machines and
dresses Mickey Mouse.
dresses fish and Mickey Mouse and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so
But I still, yeah, go on. Sorry,
so I
keep
mean,
interrupted.
this person had applied in the mass race under the female category, and they finished 6,000. I think it was 158, not 160. So yeah, anybody who finished after her would be one place further down the list. But most people who are running in that race, they're doing it to raise money for charity. They're doing it for fun. They're competing with thousands of other people, male, female,
Yeah.
non-binary. They don't care really what position they come in. What they care about is participating. And some of them who are a bit more serious about it care about their time. It's the time that they achieve, not really the position. Because, my brother runs in marathons. He's done a couple now. And the most important thing to him is how long it took him. And if he came 6,120 as opposed to 6,122, I don't think he'd give a damn about the position. He's more concerned about the time. He's like his personal time, because everybody who's in that race,
Yeah.
they're basically competing against themselves to try and better themselves or get a decent time. They don't
Yeah,
really
and
care the position.
a
You
lot
still
of
get a
people.
position in the overall race against
Yeah,
all categories.
yeah.
So it's just so ridiculous and annoying.
So do you think this is just a non-story?
It is a non-story. It's absolutely
But
nonsense.
I was thinking really, like most people that run this race, like when not the professional race, they're doing it for charity. They're doing
Yeah,
it to feel better about
yeah,
themselves and
exactly.
achieve something. They might have been through some trauma in their life, and
Hmm.
this is the celebration. And it was so lovely to watch on the news when I watched the runner, because people still coming in at 8 and 9 o'clock from that race, and and I think the real winners. I mean, it's okay looking at the elite category; it's always fascinating to see who's the fastest, but people that come of endure. It's about endurance. It's not about being the fastest. It's about what you want to achieve and then achieving it. And whether you could say, oh well, why bother and all that kind of stuff about sport, but that's what it's about. There's something in the human heart that wants to. And to see people like Piers Morgan focus on this instead of focusing on they could have done a story about anything to do with the London Marathon. They could have
They
celebrated.
could have picked an individual and said this person's ran the race and raised this much money for this
Yeah,
charity.
because there's so many
Much more
beautiful.
interesting.
You see, you could do what you could probably write a story, probably write a film about any one of those runners in the amateur
Yeah, they've
category,
all
and
got
they'll all
amazing stories of how they did
individually,
it and
they
money
will
they
all
raised.
individually have a
Yeah,
beautiful story.
exactly.
And even if they didn't, there'll be people that didn't make the end. It doesn't mean they failed. It just means that they're going to try again.
Yeah.
Now, when they were talking about this on Piers Morgan, it reminded me of all the debates about trans sports because this person came in, was it 6,060th? And
6,160. Yeah.
yeah, so what they would say if this is the way things get reported in trans Twitter, they would say she was the fastest trans woman in the London Marathon. Now, technically, that's a fact,
But we don't
but
know
it's
if
not
she's
any.
the only one.
Well, we don't. Well, she might have been the second fastest, but it doesn't matter because in the law in their mind that maths makes sense, but in the real world of time and endurance and the idea, like hand-eye coordination, being able to balance, being able to focus, mental agility, to the endurance. Like I said, there's so many variables. So when trans women are not the problem here, you know what I mean? It's like if you're going to say like in maybe an elite, the only time that argument made any sense to me when I was told about the story of Fallon Fox, because I thought, okay, then maybe, but that's a sport that is well known for being brutal. People want to make money, so they'll put fighters together that really shouldn't be together, and that's got nothing. That's across the board. You'll see people getting the noses broken and the legs broken in MMA because the people that regulate that and the people who want to make money from it are the problem. Not. I mean, obviously, if I can't speak for Fallon Fox, but she has spoken out about it, and she's had so many injuries herself, but nobody ever mentioned that. And you could have a reasonable argument about whether a trans woman who's been training as a man and then changed her identity over time. But the way that transphobes want to think about it is like, say, I woke up in the morning of London Marathon, decided to be a woman. That's the way the story plans out. They take away all the human element of it. They drain away all the beauty of that kind of experience and just bring it down to the fact that this person identifies as trans.
I mean, and the only thing they can say is that she's stolen a place from 14,000 women who finished after her.
Well, it's not that, is
it's
it?
just
I
don't think those people really care.
I don't think they pick runners based on that, because they wouldn't say we need a 50-50 split of men and women.
No,
they wouldn't get it.
They don't.
The maths.
I mean, you could go
but,
crazy with your categorization,
Yeah. I was going to say there's a show on radio. I think I mentioned it to you before, but there's a show on Radio 4 called More or Less, and they look at the news from a statistical and mathematical standpoint. So when a journalist puts a rounded number into an article, like say it might be 850,000 people did this to this, which affected that, but they'll say 1 million people. Now, you might not think there's a massive difference there, but there is, and the numbers don't add up. So that's that. So sometimes it's worth looking at news stories, not from like purely your emotional opinion, but just look at the numbers. Like, especially something like sports where numbers are important. I
just found this thing. It's just ridiculous. I was thinking if you were to take categories and say, okay, let's have the category of male, female, non-binary, and then within the female category, let's split it trans and cis, and then let's further split it to fat, thin, tall, big feet, little feet, big hands, little hands, whatever category you want to come up with. I could end up being in the category of tall, fat trans women dressed in a onesie carrying a fridge, and I could be the fastest or slowest trans woman who ever did that, It's just ridiculous. Why bother with all these stupid categories and then accuse people of stealing a place when people aren't looking at the position in terms of where they finished in a category? They're more concerned about the time they achieved. It's just nonsense. Total bullshit.
Well, I was going to say, I just remembered I was going to do my... I had that idea of running the marathon the wrong way.
With the fish costume. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like... It's a little sort of humorous comment on human nature, isn't it? I thought, but you see, you wouldn't be able to do that at the London Marathon because the security is
the rules
tight.
will prevent you from doing it anyway. But
you're
not allowed to do anything that endangers other
runners. You might
runners.
be able to get away with it at the Manchester Marathon.
Yeah, if you were to run with the flow and then just stop now and again and be a fish.
What you would have to do to make that work, because you're probably just going to get pulled off the side by security or something, or the, what they call them, people that monitor races. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
Stewards. So you probably just get like a 3-minute video of it, and then they get
kick you out of the race. Yeah.
Yeah,
but you can imagine how stupid it could get with categories like, okay, so Vicky's running with a hot point, Freda's running with a Hoover. It's like, how do you this one weighs more than that one, this one's got more controls on it. It's like, where do you go with that? It's like you could have 10,000 categories.
What's interesting about that argument?
But you've stolen a place for me because I was going to run with a fridge and you ran with a fridge and you stole my place.
You see, the interesting thing is, like when you see people like Sharon Davies on Twitter, if we had the world that she pretends to want, where sport is absolutely fair and everybody's measured by size and weight and it depends on your testosterone, Sharon Davis wouldn't make it because she's got hands like spades. She's 6'5", and that's why she wins.
This is true. You could eliminate Sharon from her own race.
Yep. So
yeah.
So that, I mean, it's always the same.
Ridiculous stuff.
And I just don't think most people care about a story like that. That story only existed.
It just annoyed me when I saw it. I thought, what on earth is this nonsense? Just let the person win and have some fun, you know. It's
exactly. They're not. I mean, and this person that did
running for charity anyway.
They were trying to say that they should give the medal back.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
But
it's a
but
fun
the sad
run.
thing is,
it's not even serious. It's a fun participation event. Oh dear. Anyway, next one. Yeah, this next one's not much better. Republican orders staff to wear clothes consistent with biological gender or face the sack. So this is some weird Texas Republican
I'm laughing
person.
already at this.
Sid Miller has dictated a dress code policy forcing employees to dress according to their gender.
Look at the state of him.
Look at him. I mean, first of all, what gender dictates wearing a hat like that?
He looks like the kind of thing. You know, if South Park were going to depict a southern,
looks like somebody. Looks like you remember the Dallas. Remember the Dallas
transgenders. I don't want transgenders in my workplace. You'll wear whatever I say you will.
Looks like JR out of Dallas, doesn't he?
They should put Dylan Mulvaney and this guy together for a podcast.
So this guy, the Texas Department of Agriculture, has ordered its employees to wear clothes consistent with their biological gender to create a comfortable work environment. The TDA sent out a memo regarding the new dress code, with a copy being obtained by the Texas Observer. The memorandum signed by Sid Miller. Yeah, can you imagine? The memorandum signed by Sid Miller, Texas Agricultural Commissioner, reads, employees are expected to comply with the dress code in a manner consistent with their biological gender. Variation of this gender policy includes remedies up to and including termination.
It's
like, what on earth?
I know, but the thing is,
first of all, how would you even decide whether something is, which gender do trousers belong to? Women wear trousers, men wear trousers. How are you going to?
Yeah, but this brings up
differentiate.
Like you can implement dress codes and stuff like that in certain jobs because you can say it's health and safety, right?
Yeah, well, this is just so it's based on biological sex.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know, but I'm just trying to think of any times because we have obviously, like I work in a very physical job and I wouldn't be able to wear heels. So, but sometimes.
But you could wear cowboy boots with if you're in Texas because it's Texas.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is some people will try and use those kind of health and safety things to tell people what to wear when they're not in a situation where it matters. So like sometimes when I've been in the office, like sometimes I don't work on the road, I just go in the office and I've come in a skirt and somebody said, yeah, you're not supposed to wear that if and I said, well, I'm not actually on the road at the moment, and what I mean?
If there's a genuine health and safety reason, I get that.
Yeah,
but it applies to both sexes,
I don't want any of them men telling me they're ladies. That's what it's coming down to, isn't it? So, we don't take too kindly to your thought round here. That's what it is.
It sounds you're scaring me.
Hey, Victoria, you gonna come to Texas, or do we have to chase you out?
So what he's saying is this is all about.
But
not everything is about transgenderism, as such. As much as some would like it us to believe that, Miller is a staunch supporter of indicted former President Donald Trump.
Of course he is. Drain the swamp.
It's just mad.
It's funny though because it's not funny. It's really fucking serious. It's like these people are emboldened to say these things and do these things because of people like Donald Trump. So when people tell me, don't pay any attention to Trump, it don't really matter. It's they've changed laws. It's directly because of Trump that Roe versus Wade was overturned. The right to bodily autonomy is being threatened in America. We're living in Margaret Atwood's America now, and
Well,
and it
especially
really
in these
annoys
these
me.
southern states. Yeah,
And it's like George Orwell, and what annoys me about it is I've seen those ideas used by TERFs. Like, oh, they think they're on the right side. They think we're the oppressor, and it's such a weird because it feeds into Orwell so well because what he said, what Orwell said was, just in a really simple terms, is that when what news will do is teach you that the good guys are bad guys and the bad guys are good guys. That's what it's about, and it's about Nazi, it's about communism as well, and it's about Nazism, and and it's about that, and they don't get it because when they put something on Twitter that says you know, um, but Newspeak, and they're talking about there's no such thing as truth anymore because trans women are trying to redefine what truth is. So, you've got the argument the wrong way around. Nobody's trying to redefine. We're just telling you that the things you think are fixed aren't. And if
exactly.
you look at them enough, you'll see that. And the people that are in power can use that against you by simplifying things.
Yeah. So Brian Klosterboer, I think I've said that right, an attorney with the ACLU of Texas, told the Texas Tribune he believes the new dress code violates Title VII of the Federal Civil Rights Act, which bans employment discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. State agencies should be focused on doing their jobs and not discriminating against their own employers and trying to make political statements through their agency regulations. Yes, correct.
Well, you see, I don't. I was just thinking then about what I said about Trump. Would the world be any different if Hillary Clinton had won that election?
I think it would.
Because you sometimes think, if it was a female, you would get a better outcome, but not necessarily. Because I've always said, and it sounds like a joke, but I think Stormy Daniels should be president. Because if you're going to have a comedy president, you're going to have a president that isn't really
Stormy
a
Daniels
politician. Why not have
probably
somebody that?
never going to be president.
But I know that.
pretty much guarantee.
Neither is Monica Lewinsky, who I also thought should be president. But the point of making with that kind of joke is that these are the people that have the moral side of the story, not Donald Trump and not Bill Clinton. And it's like I think these people like this, what's he called, Mr. Gammon Face with a hat on.
Sid Miller.
Yeah, Miss Sid Miller. He would have been one of those people that would have said like, "I ain't voting for no goddamn lady." That's what his attitude would have been about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And they're just misogynists, and
It's just mad.
Yeah. But I don't think the world would have been any different if Clinton would have won that.
Okay,
It
so
might have been slightly
whilst we're still in
different.
America, let's pop over to Florida.
Well, going at the plane to Florida, are we?
Yeah, so
Should have some
this is
sound effects there, like a jet engine
yeah,
noise.
yeah. We're pretty poor with our segues today. Disney sues Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over
Ron
targeted
DeSantis. Get
targeted
Sanchez.
campaign of government retaliation. So this is a really strange one as well. Disney has sued Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis amid a months-long bitter feud. The House of Mouse. Mickey's fighting back here. Has launched legal action against DeSantis over his takeover of the park's special district, filing the lawsuit just moments after an oversight board appointed by DeSantis voted against the deal, which gave Disney design and construction control over its properties. Disney claims voting against the deal will cost the company billions of dollars and the state thousands of jobs. I mean, this has been going on for a while, this dispute. The history of this kind of goes back to 1967, where the company had a near total control of the area in which its sprawling properties are based, called the Reedy Creek Improvement District. 50-year-old agreement between the state and the company sees Disney exempt from such things as property tax, whilst at the same time having autonomous control over things like its own fire service etc.,
Wow.
taking control of the area in February and putting a board of hand-picked Conservatives in charge. DeSantis said the corporate kingdom has come to an end and described himself as the new sheriff in charge. So
is Disneyland sort of its own state?
It was a region within Florida, in Orlando, that Disney were kind of in charge of. I think it goes back to the fact that there was nothing going on there when they built it, and they were trying to bring in jobs and a bit of prosperity to
I was just thinking
to the state. And Disney were kind of given this deal: you develop it, you look after it, and we won't charge property tax. I mean, it seems like a good deal at the time.
I just think it'd be really funny if like DeSantis gets beaten by a 90-year-old effeminate mouse. I mean, I remember reading about Disney, because Disney, there was some really dodgy stuff went on with Disney, and there was one story about what the people that drew the basic cartoons that became animations and designed Mickey Mouse. Well, one of the people who worked for Disney thought it would be funny to do a sexualized version, and obviously that leaked. There's a story about it somewhere. I'll find it for you. I'll put it in the Twitter. But it's interesting because it shows the even because the people that work for Disney would be from all over, because they just picked them because they were great artists. They were good at drawing. They weren't political. They didn't play because of political reasons. So some of the people that working for Disney had very kind of weird views. Let's put it that way. They did back then, and we know that Disney they did some quite racist stuff, didn't they?
Mm.
Racially stereotypical. I mean, and if you watch Tom and Jerry now, the maid is black, and you never see her face. You just see her feet as she's dragging herself along the floor. Thomas!
Yeah, so, I mean, Dickie Mouse would be a good name for him, wouldn't it? Instead
Was
of
it
Mickey
Disney
Mouse.
that did Tom and Jerry? Is that a different thing?
I'm sure it did Tom and Jerry. It's probably Disney.
I think they're part of the same conglomerate now. That's probably why I'm mixing it up, because a lot of the companies that came up around Disney, they all became one big company, didn't they? And Disney now, Disney Plus and all that, they put out a lot of content that isn't catered for a younger audience. It's kind of reaching out, beyond.
Well, my money's on Dickie Mouse to win, so there we go.
Yeah, I want to go to Disneyland because
I don't want to go to Florida, not with this idiot in charge.
Oh God, yeah, it'd be interesting though to go, because it's not somebody that I thought about I'd enjoy, but just as a social experiment, like go as a trans woman and see how people treat you.
I've been. I went when I was there. I mean, it's a nice.
And how did you feel? Did you feel welcome?
Well, it's typically Disney. There's lots of cartoon characters.
I suppose everybody's acting though, aren't they? When they're in
it's
that
very fake. There's lots of people in costumes, and it's spotless, and it's just like you would imagine Disney World to be.
I remember Ruby Wax.
It's a nice day out. You're kind of submersed into this Disney world.
Well, Ruby Wax interviewed a lady once on Channel 4, and she used to work at Disneyland, and she used to play Snow White.
Ruby Wax.
When she went to her house, she'd done a house like Snow White, and she was still talking like Snow White. She was still acting like Snow White. She could never break character. So, she, to all intents and purposes, that was her real existence. And when she got fired, I didn't say why she got fired, but maybe she was caught having a pint of lager on the back of her, or a fag behind the back of her. Yeah. And I'd love to see that image. But yes, so it was interesting that I thought it was really funny. I think that's still on YouTube somewhere. But she interviews this lady, and you can tell she's sort of, she's got issues. Let's put it that way.
But it just shows you, doesn't it? Like Rhonda, he's picking on Disney.
Yeah, he's dirty Santa.
Because Disney were opposed to the Don't Say Gay bill.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's where it all started. It's because I think it took a while for Disney to get on board with what their staff were telling them, that it's, we don't want this bill. We need the company to, make a statement against it. And eventually Disney did that. And then because of that, DeSantis has gone after them and decided, right, I'm going to take away your special privileges in your piece of land. It's just like he's going after them because they were against his bill. It's just God.
Yeah, I think Trump is planning to run, isn't he, for president in 2020?
Well, DeSantis will be the challenge to him, and I'm not sure which is worse.
Well, they're both as bad as each other. I mean, I'm going to keep my eye on this now because you're going to start seeing the candidates. You know, when they start having it starts off with about 20 people, and you know that some of the complete lunatics.
Yeah, well, the next story, another one about DeSantis.
Well, we said that, didn't we? Nobody said before 2017, was it, that Trump would ever be president? There were people going on telly and just laughing at the idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was
and that's why that was Trump's power in a way, because he cut through something that the issues, he didn't have any solutions to the issues, but he could he could appeal to the worst people among us. And that is a powerful thing, because like when he was doing those debates with Hillary, the problem Hillary had is she was sort of overconfident because she just thought, well, Trump's an idiot. So she didn't try enough. And within that space of not trying enough, he really did kind of, win the audience over, because people don't really care about policy and those kind of, they're not real, those debates, presidential debates and stuff like that. They're not like real, they're theatre.
Well, I'm a bit concerned about the news this week that Joe Biden is running again.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the reason I say that is because he's getting pretty old, isn't he? He's going to be, 82, 84, something.
Biden's presence is not.
I mean, he's very experienced.
But we're living, like I
He'll
said,
probably beat Trump,
world,
but
so.
is he getting too old? Maybe there should be somebody coming up in the Democratic Party that can take over. I mean,
you'd like to think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Maybe she could be the first female U.S. president.
I must admit, I don't know too much about Harris, but there are people. I mean, I keep my eye on it, but we don't get a say in that. So, like, I'm not going to follow it as much as I would our coming general election.
Yeah, I mean,
we've not had.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
It's going to be a big one. That.
I mean, this next story again, it's about DeSantis and his trip to London to visit with
Kemi
Badenoch and
Kemi Badenoch Powell
and James Cleverly.
James not very cleverly.
James not so. Florida's right-wing governor, Ron DeSantis, architect of multiple anti-LGBTQ bills, is set to meet senior Conservative ministers on Friday, the 28th of April. That was the Friday that's just gone, so it's already happened, during a visit to the UK. The Republican politician will meet with the Secretary of State for Business and Trade and Minister for Women's and Equalities, Kemi Badenoch, and Foreign Secretary James Cleverly to promote direct foreign investment in Florida, despite recent warnings of the state being hostile to LGBTQ travellers. DeSantis will also address a group of 50 business leaders at a private conference with Badenoch. I can guess where that's going to be.
Well, James Cleverly was in the news not long ago because he was, that there's sort of like a protest group called Led by Donkeys.
Yeah.
And they discovered that they were taking like £10,000 cash payments for being influencers, like going into to talk to certain people and not declaring it. If I did that, if I was to do something like that, I'd be in jail. I'd be fired. I'd be in jail, and that'd be the end of it. But because for some reason, the people that work for Michael Gove, I say Michael Gove because Michael Gove seems to be at the center of all these kind of, policy exchange things and Tufton Street things.
Well, I mean, just to give you an idea of who's getting excited about this trip, Britain's right wing calls DeSantis a courageous, bold leader. Britain is the last stop on DeSantis' trade mission, which included visits to Japan, South Korea, and Israel. His right-wing British politicians are flocking to meet with anti-LGBT Florida Governor, and Nigel Farage Party Reform UK has been chasing a private meeting. Richard Tice, leader of Reform UK,
gosh, don't get me started on Tice.
Formerly the Brexit Party, told Politico that DeSantis is a courageous, bold leader and one the Democrats should fear. You know, it's like
There's two
the
things.
right love this guy, and what does that tell you? You know,
There's two things I'm going to do this week because you mentioned Richard Tice.
yeah,
Then Richard Tice is like the head of the Reform Party. It's kind of
yeah.
a fake political party, but they had Alex. What's she called? Uh, there's a lady called Belinda DeLucy, is like a distant relative of the Queen, and Alex Phillips. And Alex Phillips made this speech going, I'm not ashamed to be white, and I know what a woman is. It was like if you'd have seen this on telly, you just think this was a joke, you'd think it was a parody. But no, they're coming across as if they want to be serious. And I think the people like Martin Daubney, if you've heard of him, who was one of the people that went to Brussels on the Brexit bus with Nigel Farage, the Brexit fun bus, I call it. I did write something about that ages ago, and it was called the Brexit fun bus. And I just looked at everybody that was on, like, Anne Widdecombe, like I said, Alex Phillips, and Belinda DeLucy, Martin Daubney, Nigel Farage.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, it's like a bus full of the worst people. If there was any bus you wish might go
Go
off the
off a
road,
cliff or something.
it might be
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
So let's just. I'm not now. Just be clear. I'm not wishing the death of Anne Widdecombe in any way. I don't want anybody to be injured in a bus crash. But
Correct.
when you read about what these people say and the lies these people are willing to proliferate in the name of politics, it makes you not care about them very much. So, just to add, but yeah, and Richard Tice actually pays for a slot on Talk TV, and I found this out. Actually, I won't tell you how I found this out, but he has a Saturday or Sunday show, and he has an hour to a couple of hours, and it's just a party political broadcast basically that he pays for. And Richard Tice pays for a lot of things on Talk TV because you'll notice a lot of the guests are linked to Richard Tice. Like, have you heard of Isabel Oakeshott?
Yeah.
She was, well, I don't know if they're still together, but they did have a relationship, and they're connected. And if you look at who she's connected to, you'll see it's all, like I said, goes back to Michael Gove and the policy exchange, and they all sharing information. And yeah, that's a conspiracy. But yeah, so I found out this by looking at the Led by Donkeys Twitter. And obviously, because I've been on Talk TV a few times, I started to notice the guests. And what I plan to do, because when Tice has his show, I'm going to ring him up as a caller. I'm not going to put my real name on it, and I'm going to ask him about these allegations about who he's connected to, and do you think you should be lying about why you're on Talk TV? Like, you actually pay for this slot, don't you? And I wanted to put it to see what he says. And also another thing that reminds me, another thing about Kelly J. Keane does this thing called Turf Talk Tuesday.
Mm.
I'm going
Yeah.
to try and get on there, but obviously I
You're going to
can't use
call
my
in as
real
an
name or anything.
anonymous caller.
Yeah, so I'm just going to call. So my name's Deborah, and I live in Manchester. I'm just sick of these trannies taking over, and see if they'll put me on. I think it's amazing what you're doing for women, Kelly. You're such one of a kind. You're so powerful, and you're so influential.
And then you're going to do the big reveal and say, hi, it's Freda.
Yeah, it's Freda Wallace here, and I'd just like to remind you that there are several police reports on you at the moment for. No, she'd just put the phone down.
She probably would, yes.
The thing is with that, I'd have to keep up the act long enough for it to make sense as a call. Because as soon as she clocked me, she would put the phone down. So listen out for that on Tuesday if I can do it.
So we've had a lot of Rhonda DeSantis stuff in this week's pod, and I thought we'd end on a bit of a tribute to Rhonda.
Oh, have we done all the topics?
We've done all the topics.
I thought there was. Did you not get the one I sent you?
You didn't send me one, love.
Oh God!
What was that one? You have to talk it. I don't have a picture.
It's all right. Just keep talking a minute.
What was it about?
It's about. I forgot now.
You forgot what your topic was?
Yeah, because I had a few. I had a few potential topics.
Okay.
Well, yeah, teachers. There's a far right protest, sorry, of activists blasting George Michael tunes because well, the LGBTQ activists were blasting out George Michael songs, and about 5 or 6 right wingers turned up for this protest. and it was about a drag event at a pub in London. So these far right people thought we're going to protest this because we don't want drag queens. And then loads of LGBTQ people and allies turned up with a massive sound system and played loads of George Michael at them.
Excellent.
And that's the sort of thing, guy. That's the kind of protest. Do
Yeah.
you know when I talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
taking my Bluetooth speaker? When Kelly J. Keane comes to Manchester, I'm not going to reveal too much about this just because, people might leak it. But we should do what Beth Douglas does in Glasgow and the cabaret, what's it called? Cabaret against transphobia. I can't remember now. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. They
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have a big party in the same square. The council
Cabaret
know,
against hate speech. Yeah.
and you have to approach them, but you have to do it legally. You have to say to the police, "Can we have this space to do this? It's not going to be any trouble. We just, and the police are
Hmm.
more likely to say yes because they know it's not a problem.
Yeah.
If Kelly J. Keane is allowed to do that, then we're allowed to do this.
Hmm.
If we're going to stick to the idea of freedom of speech and expression, you have to have it both ways.
Yeah.
So there's no basis for them to say no. But what I do worry about is like in Manchester, there are quite strong, what I would say, anti-fascist networks, and they have a more direct action approach to people like Kelly Keane. So I mean that's fine. I've never stopped them doing whatever they think is effective. But I think there's always going to need to be a police presence, not because the police are there to harm anybody, but it's like if it does get to a point where there is sort of a bit of there could be people hurt, they have to be there, and that's just something that's my personal view,
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, more discos, more George Michael, bigger speakers, drown them out.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah.
about numbers again,
Mm.
Not many people, so you'd be surprised how very few people support transphobic rhetoric.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it
Very
might
much.
feel like it when you're on Twitter. It might feel like, and when you see the Daily Mail and you see all these stories like we've just covered. But actually, in real terms, in actual numbers, in the maths of it, they are the tiny man. That's when they kind of so loud and they reach for these platforms because they know they're fighting a losing game. History doesn't prefer their view of the world.
So talking of drag and talking of Republicans and talking of Rhonda, here's the first tribute picture. It's now on the screen.
Let me see. I can't see it.
So there's a thing on Instagram called Republicans, and
Oh yes, yeah.
I
I just have
highly
a look at it.
recommend you go and have a look. It's hilarious.
I've seen. I
So
have saved
there's a
it.
picture here of Rhonda in drag. Welcome to Ron DeSantis' malfeasant era.
Dirty Sanchez.
Lady has been drinking from the cauldron of darkness and is blackout drunk with power.
But they look amazing, don't they?
They do amazing. I'm hoping
What
this
I,
annoys Rhonda.
I mean, these colours and the artistry here.
Oh yeah, I mean the artistry is amazing. But
I'd love to know how they did it. Like I know
can you
it's.
imagine
I know
Rhonda's reaction to seeing these pictures and all
Do
the
you know
other
the-
all the other kind of famous Republicans are all featured in Republicans.
Yeah.
So go have a look. It's really funny. Here's another one. Ron DeSantis category is book banning. She's on a mission to turn that magic kingdom into a tragic kingdom and isn't afraid to give Mickey the finger.
The funniest one is the first one, McConnell.
And then here's another one. Yeah, same wording.
But
underneath,
just bear in mind that even if these people dressed like this, and even if these people, this was the norm. Imagine a world where this was the norm, like if
What,
if drag
Republicans
was
in drag?
imagine a world where this drag look was the status quo. It wouldn't make these people better people.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. It's still the same.
You know, So, because the way that, because this look, the reason this is art and the reason drag is drag, it's not because of the clothes, it's because it challenges the status quo, and that's why drag is. That's why any art that is of any use, of any value, it must say something that criticizes culture, not just appeals to people that like pretty things. that's the power of drag. I mean, there is some drag that you just look at and go, that's beautiful. Look at the artistry. It must have taken you ages to make that. And that's an element of, there's a craft element to drag. But the real power of drag is the political.
Mhm.
You can be a drag queen and be completely non-political. I get that. But by presenting to the world an extreme version of, whatever you're trying to express, it's like a very, it's a political statement, whether you like it or not. And the best drag queens have all those things. They have the artistry. They're really good on a sewing machine, and they can do makeup brilliantly. But the element that makes a good drag queen for me is the knowing of the political climate they live in. So drag queens like Cheddar Gorgeous, and I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm not a big follower of RuPaul, I must admit, so I don't know a lot of the names, but there are certain ones, and Cheddar Gorgeous stands out to me because I know her. I know Michael, but yeah, I think it's just really that makes drag interesting. So when you see it done in this Republican idea way, that's why it's funny. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
because
amazing.
the clothes are funny. Because I can imagine certain right wingers looking at this and going, haha, yes, see, it is ridiculous. Isn't drag ridiculous? But no, that's not the message here. It's about
I
politics.
like how they picked up on our idea of Rhonda. You heard it here first on Gender Nebulous, and I think
But it's not unusual like it in cultures that the powerful people used to dress really ornately. Do you know what I mean? Like I was thinking about, like in the Tudor period, like the more bling you had, the more bigger your hair was, the more bilious your skirts were, the more power you had because the local people couldn't afford that.
yeah.
And then the people became more resourceful, and people learned to emulate those looks, and then it became democratic to have because if you have access to all materials and you have the talent to make something, that makes it democratic.
So that was our tribute to Rhonda. I hope you enjoyed that.
Rhonda, I'm starting to
Rhonda,
call Dirty
Rhonda
Santas.
DeSantis, or Dirty Santis if you prefer. It's up to you.
Well,
Um,
that was interesting.
that was
I think they
interesting.
were really good topics, actually. Good. We were saying before, we tend to talk about the same things a lot, don't we, about sports? But every time we have a story, we get a new
We'd
kind of
like to kind
insight.
of, a lot of these stories is kind of, there's threads in them from previous episodes where we've spoken about Rhonda quite a lot. We've spoken about Dylan Mulvaney quite a lot. So it's just interesting how the stories evolve. And, now we're seeing Rhonda coming over to the UK and talking to the other person that we talk about a lot, which is Kemi Badenoch. And all these kind of weird connections which are going on in the background with these people. It's all very revealing.
Well, I'm gonna be doing some more tally soon, but
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do
So
is get away
let's
from.
just talk about what your little idea you were discussing yesterday. Let's talk about that.
Oh, do you mean about finding some trans
Yeah.
people, non-binary
Hmm.
people who have got the confidence and
Yeah.
maybe want to go? Because what was happening was I was getting calls from Talk TV quite a lot and asking me to talk on the same topics all the time, and I kept saying yes because I wanted to get the message out, and also I wanted to promote this podcast. That was kind of it might seem shallow to want to do that, but yeah, it's part of it because I want to get good messages out there. But so I was using talk radio in a way, as well as they're using me to be a talking head. But we got to the point where I thought, because I said I can't do this, but I know somebody who can, and I would maybe think of some others who I've seen in the news, like Katie Montgomery, and I've seen Beth Douglas do stuff, and I've seen Sarah Savage do stuff. And I thought would be good if we had a network. Like we're not an organization that say I'm an employee of anybody. All it is where I can go quickly to a phone number or an email address and say this is person would be really good on this topic because they have this experience. And that is it really. So if I could just get a list of trans women or anybody on the
So a list of
no
people who are prepared to go on,
yeah, because
and a
they're always talking about
bit of a knowledge database on topics
yeah.
and experts and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just so then if because I've managed to get a few connections to people in on GB News, Talk TV, LBC, A couple of other things I'm looking at. I'm trying to get out of that. I'm trying to get into more, I wouldn't call them more friendly spaces, but just where they're actually willing to listen to what you've got to say rather than put a video up later that's been caught so loads of the fans can pile
Yeah,
in
so you're
and
not being
criticize you.
used as fodder for their
Yeah, because this was one of my concerns
political
when I
stances.
started thinking about suggesting people, because I'd have to say, look, if this goes to social media, there will be a backlash. You will have, don't read the comments because they'll
Mm.
be awful, and I don't want put anybody. I would be a bit worried about suggesting, say, you, Vicky, went on something and then there was a load of abuse after. I feel responsible for that. So what I want to do is put together a resource page together, maybe on the Gender Nebulous website, that just says what to look out for, what the kind of attitude of the broadcaster is, what their political message is generally. So you can expect that there is going to be backlash but it's just the same for anybody in the public eye. You can look at anybody. You can look at like, you know, I was thinking like somebody you wouldn't even think is a controversial figure, like, Hugh Edwards. If you look, you know what I mean? They get abuse all the time from people because they're not saying the thing they want them to say. And it's like, I'm sorry, mate, but not everything on the telly is for you. Do you know what I mean? You can
So a bit
but
of
you just
a
get,
bit of a resources page in the Gender
yeah,
Nebulous website.
yeah.
Maybe some profiles of people who are going to go on and talk.
Yeah, you could just have a nice
Just the
little.
basic info.
I'm thinking just a picture, as if they
Picture and a bio.
like as if they would appear on their camera,
Mm-hmm.
and just a little bio that says, what the pronouns are, what the motive, like what the not necessarily what their job is. You don't have to reveal anything about your
Yeah,
personal
just
life, but what
basics.
you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
and like that kind of thing. And we'll have to work it all out, but that was the idea. And so then what we could do is I could interview as a podcast the people who are involved in that and then make a podcast about that. So we're talking specifically about media inclusion for half an hour. But it's just an idea at the moment. So I'm just scribbling it all out on my pad. Like, I've got a list of names on me that I'm thinking of asking.
Yeah,
Mm.
sounds like a good
Because there's
idea.
no point in sitting here and complaining, oh, they're not saying the right things about
But
us.
it's not. I mean,
Uh,
it's not to kind of dictate what people say when they go on. It's just to give kind of guidelines as
yeah.
to these are the talking
Yeah, no,
points.
no,
These
no,
are the things that you could expect to come
no.
up, and
Yeah.
address
Yeah.
them in this way. Maybe I think that's useful for people
Yeah,
who
but
might be going on.
what I'm saying is, I would never tell anybody what to
No,
say or
that's not
say.
no.
If they make a mistake and get a fact wrong, or they perhaps could have done a
No, but
little
if
bit
you
better,
if you're
that's
going to go on, it would be useful to know.
mm,
I'm going to go on and talk to this person. So, what's this person's kind of? How do they normally talk about these issues? It would be
yeah,
useful to know that,
yeah,
and it would be
I,
useful to know. Okay, these are the talking points, and for this particular talking point, be aware of these issues and these
mm,
angles. So
mm,
you've got like a full picture of what might come up when you're on. I think that's
yeah,
important to have.
yeah, and also like a lot of the same topics come up, like
Yeah,
sports, prisons,
they do,
trans
and it's usually
people.
the same people with the same things all the time.
So if you've just got a little knowledge base of what that question actually means, like I would say, if somebody said to you, "What is a woman?" Because they sometimes do this, don't they? Say, "What is a woman?" Well, how would you respond to that? And
Yeah, so
my
just some
tact is
kind
always to
of
say,
guide, just some pointers around
it's
what that
just
means.
to understand that question
Yeah.
is a leading question, and it's a loaded question. And also, I always say adult human female because I just go because if I go to that, it makes just as much sense to say that as anything else. And then they have the next question. And it did that. It diffuses that because that's what I did with Nick Ferrari. I knew he was going to say that because he'd said it to every person on this issue. So I just said because I didn't want to have that conversation. I wanted to shut it down and talk about the thing that the point of the thing. Now, if you're Keir Starmer, you'll go, oh well, maybe 99% of women are cis, and I don't know really. And it's just stupid. Just answer the question as ridiculously as it was asked.
Yeah. So that would be That I'm interested in doing that. That sounds like a good thing. We need to figure out exactly how it's going to work, but that's why not?
Well, that was is that everything covered today?
We are.
Still recover.
We've
I'm
covered
still
everything's covered.
recovering from last night.
Still recovering last night. Yes. Oh yeah.
I've had a
We've
pint of coffee.
pints of coffee. I think I need another one. That was 1 hour 20. So I guess our next pod will be on Thursday live. And on Friday, we have Professor Stephen Whittle coming on and doing an interview
fantastic.
with us.
Let me just make a note of that. I didn't put the new date in. I'm very terrible for this.
You are terrible. You need a calendar.
I haven't got one here.
You need to use your calendar.
What? Right, I'll do it in a minute.
Yeah, so that won't be out on Friday, but we'll be recording it Friday. It'll be coming out a few days later. But the next, Thursday for the next live. So thanks for listening to us. Please subscribe, please like, please come back again and listen to our ridiculous conversations. Anything else for you? What did I miss?
I think that's everything for this week. One thing we've forgotten to do, though.
What's that?
The song.
Oh, God, the song. We're going to get it right today. Are you going to interrupt?
Just in case anybody's new to the podcast and they don't understand, we try and do a song in synchronization at the end of every episode. And the song is Don't Forget to Subscribe.
It's really simple.
But Vicky can never do it because she has no sense of timing or tone or anything. So we try. Is there a delay?
I think you're delayed. Anyway.
Okay, so I'll count in. You ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Don't forget to subscribe.
You know, that's close as we're going to get, I think.
Yeah. It's never going to be better than that.
Never.
Congratulations for finally being on time.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, in time. In time, yeah. Anyway.
All right, bye for now.
Bye
Don't
for now.
Forget to tune in on Thursday.
We'll see you later. Bye.